Fifth meeting of USD 431 to order. Roll call. Don Fisher is absent, and Sarah Talton is joining us by phone. Everybody else is present. Item 3, adoption of agenda. I don't believe we had any changes from what was printed.
No.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. We adopt the agenda as presented. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Item 5, consent agenda. 4, opportunity for visitors. Okay. Our normal request or procedure is if you want to speak, you need to fill out a request form. Has anybody filled out a request form? Okay. If not, we will proceed. Item 5, consent agenda. In the consent agenda are the minutes of May 1, the minutes of the special meeting May 30th, the cash balance report, the check journal report, and the activities account. Patrick?
Okay, the cash balance report is not 100% accurate. We are still in that process of converting over from FA2 into Skyward. So I tried to give you an example of what would be a cash balance report that would be there for those. There is some numbers there. Again, that's not 100% accurate in terms of the detailed reporting that's there. I did provide to you, and I will post it on the website as soon as we are done as public information, the actual balances that are in our checking accounts and our money market accounts. So I provided that to you, and I will post that online. So I just don't want anybody to think that we're gonna go broke. We're far from that. We are solvent. I did go ahead and provide in the consent agenda a check journal. The check journal is a little bit different. It provides it by AP runs. So each one of those pages basically is an individual accounts payable run, and I did go ahead and provide that all the way back to April 1.
Is there any way that a memo could be put on those so we know what those checks were written for?
I can sure look at that.
Yeah, I
to
mean,
s-
seeing the
to
vendor,
see
we
what
can
it
guess,
is. Yeah,
but,
yeah,
Not always.
yeah.
yeah. No, that's fine. We're still learning what reports
Yeah,
we're
I'm
gonna
sure.
be able
I'm
to.
sure.
So that's a great ask.
Any questions on any of the consent agenda?
No, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. One thing I might add is Patrick and I have talked, normally we have an end of the year meeting to authorize transfers to accounts and things like that. And with this year, with all these things not quite wrapped up, we thought it would be a good thing to set a end of the month, end of the year meeting, just so that we're sure where we're at with all the financials.
Yep.
We'll discuss that later, so. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Old business handbook review.
I did have to make one minor change. Joel pointed out today about 10:30 that I had actually given you the wrong high school one on this month's agenda, so I did make that update. But I do believe I got the right one posted for you on the previous meeting, so that if you were reviewing that throughout the month. So these are the new handbooks and revisions. And both all the middle school, the high school, and Lincoln. They also have added a discipline matrix to be able to have a clear-cut idea of the direction that the discipline will take if so needed. So I think that was a good move on their part.
Was that discussion like among all the administrators? Because, you know, I noticed that the middle school and high school, they were very similar. I don't know if
Yes.
everybody discussed it.
Yes, that's been a discussion that we've actually had, well, for about the last 2-3 years now. And then having some of the discipline issues, I think everybody's kind of had that discussion together.
Does anybody have any questions on or have had a chance to review those? I think things were pretty well highlighted in it where there were changes in them.
I move to accept the student handbooks as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and second to accept the student handbooks as presented. Any other discussion? Not, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Item B, wellness policy review.
Stacy does a good job of keeping that up to date. You know, these are state guidelines. Some of it is tweaked for our specific things. Not a lot of changes this year, maybe some minor changes to names and people on that committee. So I would recommend that we go ahead and approve that.
Any questions on the wellness policy?
I'll make a motion to approve the wellness policy.
Second.
Motion been made and second to approve the 2023-24 wellness policy as presented. Discussion? Not, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Item C, resolution for lease purchase.
We have made the approval already for the lease purchase, which is the contract that we are working, that we were getting into with Wilson State Bank to borrow the $1 million to complete the turf and track. We'll be paying that back over a 5-year period. This is just a formal resolution to enter into that agreement. Gilmore and Bell is in the process of working with us to finalize that formal paperwork and get that to Wilson State Bank, file it with the IRS, and file it with the state as well.
And legally, I need to read this resolution. So, a resolution authorizing USD 431, Barton County, Kansas, to enter into a lease purchase transaction, proceeds of which will be used to pay the costs of acquiring, equipping, and installing certain improvements, and to approve the execution of certain documents in connection therewith. I move that the resolution be adopted.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Not, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. The resolution was duly read and considered, and upon being put, the motion for the adoption of the resolution was carried by the following vote. Yes, 6, no, 0. Thereupon, the president declared the resolution duly adopted, and the resolution was then duly numbered resolution number 2023-6-5, was signed by the president and attested by the clerk.
We have that for you to sign afterwards.
Yes.
So thank you. That was a mouthful.
Yeah. Always fun signing $1 million obligation.
I think you've probably done it more than me.
Okay, moving on to item D, turf update.
So we have sold 16 rolls of turf. We will be going ahead and taking 3 of those down to the baseball, softball areas to use in batting cages around home plate, to cut off for the the sale of some of it during Labor Day. So, right now, also we sold the Center Cardinal for $1,000 to Ryan Wojak. He has that, so we'll see what he ends up doing with that. After football camp, I had the bright idea, we're gonna go ahead and cut that out, and I'll have all these football boys help me move it. Well, we were cutting through 3 inches of rubber, so we've put that on hold for now. What is taking place now, you've seen some activity up there, they are actually removing as much rubber as they can get out of it. They estimate that there'll be about 100 bags of rubber that'll be pulled out of the football field. When that is done, they're hoping to have that done by the end of the week. It's been a little slow because of the moisture that we've had. Thank goodness for the moisture. I'll take that any day. Then by the end of the week, what they'll do is they'll go ahead and cut and lay back the edges of the turf around the outside edge. So then Stone Sand Company will then come in and pull out the track and the old drain. At that point in time, then they'll go ahead and start cutting the turf, and we'll contact the people that have purchased those rolls of turf so that they can come and pick that up. They are also wanting to go ahead and get the asphalt completely laid before the turf gets pulled up, because that then will protect the rock underneath. So we did pull up a corner of the Cardinal Head. It's a rock, a river rock, a small river rock underneath that, and they really feel like that's pretty well to grade right now. There will have to be some work on the edges after they pull up the old drains. There'll also have to be some work on the east end in terms of getting that drainage correct as well. But they already have put some pins in to actually work on the jumping areas on the west end as well. So things are progressing relatively quickly right now. I'm sure that it'll ebb and flow as we go. So that's kind of where we're at on the turf. Any questions?
So the rolls of turf will be several weeks before they're.
Well, yeah, we're probably looking at, maybe 3 or 4 weeks before that takes place. So we'll be in contact with those people that have purchased that, so that they have a little bit better timeline as well when we get closer. So
Looks like there's gonna be a lot of activity this summer.
Yep, we've got a lot going on.
Any other questions on the turf? Not, we'll move to item E, daycare update.
Just a quick update on the daycare. Great Bend Economic Development is in the process of applying for a grant. They reached out to us to get a letter of I guess approval, or a letter of consent that we are working with them. I did go ahead and get that to them. We also got a letter of consent with the city to say that the location that we are considering to put the daycare is zoned correctly. So they are working on a grant. The Patterson Family Foundation is also working on a grant, or they have an application that is out and available. So I'll be working on that application that goes specifically towards daycare funding as well. So I'll keep you updated to that, and I should have at least an update that I got the application completed at the July board meeting. Questions?
All right, any other old business? If not, we'll move to item 7, new business, the baseball, softball cooperative agreement. Farron, would you wanna come up and get involved in this discussion?
Little update of what I've done. I did talk to Miss O'Lowry at Central Plains today. He said if they got kids that want to play, they're more than willing to send them over from their standpoint. Both coaches are are for the agreement, if that's what you guys choose to do. Some information that we dug up, one thing to consider, just to be transparent, Keisha does state the reason for cooperative agreement is varsity numbers. Now you can look at that both ways. I mean, Hoisington could sustain by themselves, but Central Plains can't. So, Central Plains needs the numbers. On top of that, with our increased enrollment, it will push us to 4A, maybe next year, for sure the year after that. I mean, we're only 20-some students off of being 4A in baseball and softball right now, the way it is. So, and I believe we graduated a class of 50-some. We're going to bring in a class in the upper 70s at the high school. So that's going to take up dang near all of those 20 students that we're short of being 4A. So, I mean, that's kind of the information I have. I mean, I'm here to answer whatever questions you guys have for me. In my 2 years, the communities get along well, and I mean, as you can see, the softball girls are here to support that.
Questions for Patrick? Do you want, anything you want to add?
No, I mean, we've talked about this every time it comes up. I think this is my second time. I mean, it would, Farron brought up a good point. It was designed to allow kids to participate. We don't necessarily need the numbers. We have enough numbers out, but Central Plains needs our numbers to be able to participate in this activity. So, I'm on the fence either way. I mean, I think it's a benefit, but I also can see that could go the other way as well. So, I like seeing kids participate. I like seeing our kids participate. And when the Central Plains come over and participate with us, those are our kids as well. So, I mean, it's been a good agreement, but, it can go either way.
Are there any stipulations that come with the agreement for CPs, on CP's behalf?
Yes, on CP's behalf, the agreement in the past has been that they paid for the third coach for both baseball and softball. My first year here, I didn't realize that was part of the agreement. I sent the bill my second year here. That was also when the outgoing superintendent was leaving, so I don't know if that ever made it. So this year, the bill will be sent to Diane, the board clerk, instead of anybody. I mean, obviously, I could send it to Bill as well, Mr. Lowry. But that's the kind of the stipulation that we've had, in this agreement.
I think the other stipulation was they're responsible for transporting.
For their
the
transportation.
students over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
When are we wanting to make a decision on that?
We'd like to make that decision tonight, if possible.
Oh, okay, on the agenda, okay, it didn't show as an action item, so I just thought it was discussion.
That's probably my fault, Sarah, but I think unless somebody wants to
No,
postpone it.
it's fine, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't sure.
Questions, comments?
My comment would be
I mean,
having those girls.
I've said this all along since I've been on the board. I'm not in favor of it. I just feel like, you're in the school district, you play for the school district, those students should have the right to play over non-district. The students that want to come over, they get to play travel ball, with the Hoisington athletes. So, yeah, I don't agree.
Tracy?
I personally sat down and mapped both teams, the JV and the varsity. If we didn't have those Central Plains girls, our JV team would not be able to play that full season. By having them here with us, it's allowing us to continue to develop our girls and, continue to develop the varsity. So.
But on the other hand, and maybe this is more baseball, but aren't there other schools that sometimes don't even have enough for a JV team either? So, there play, but, you know, other schools don't have JV necessarily.
Can you address that, Fern?
You know, numbers wise, softball's always had numbers and baseball hasn't traditionally, according to what I've been told. That's getting ready to kind of flip flop. We got a lot of boys that play baseball, and our baseball numbers are going to really climb here in the next couple of years. And there is some truth to that. You know, just as Tim can attest, you never know how a season's going to go. Some girls are going to move up, some are going to move down, some are position specific. You may have a ton of outfielders, but that still doesn't mean you can play JV, because none of them may be able to pitch or catch. That's usually your two that are the big ones that you need to have girls that can specialize in those areas. So there is some truth to that. Now, there is also truth to what Sarah said. I mean, there are schools in our league that don't play a whole lot of JV. Larned traditionally for a while hasn't played a lot of JV in baseball or softball until they co-opted with lacrosse this year. So you know, there is some truth to that. I mean, you get a little smaller than us, there's lots of schools that don't play JV. Some of them can compete at the varsity level, and some of them can't. It comes down to Jimmy's and Joe's. So,
What do you anticipate if we move up to 4A though?
you know, Tim and I talked about that today. You know, there's years where 3A is a lot tougher than 4A's, and there's years 4A is a lot tougher than 3A. So, I mean, I can't really sit here and say that next year or next couple of years 4A may be easier, so that's beneficial. I mean, you never know.
I don't mean on easy level, I mean, do you think that a lot of the 4As have JV teams that
Oh,
will
yeah,
be playing?
majority of them
But
do.
the only time that really comes into play is in the
Regular,
regionals.
yeah.
So the regular schedule wouldn't change until you get
No.
to
Right.
regional.
No, and whether
It's
we're
pretty much our schedule
yeah,
for this
whether
year
we're co-op or
will be
not,
pretty
our
much the
schedule's
same as
set.
last
I mean,
year.
our schedule consists, all of our doubleheaders are league schools except for one, and that's Ellenwood, and that won't change. Well, I take that back. It is going to change because Lions is leaving the league, so we'll have to go out and find one more. But our schedule won't matter whether we're 3A
Okay.
or 4A. That's not going to change anything JV or varsity wise.
Any other questions?
I think it's an agreement that's worked for a lot of years. We're talking just a handful of girls most of the time. If it's not broke, why change it?
They're good kids.
You know, they're good standing students. They drive over here. They put in the effort. You know, we shouldn't punish them.
I would agree with that. I would also add, you know, talking about the JV schedule, that type of thing. I mean, from a numbers perspective, being able to have that JV schedule is an important facet. I mean, if you don't have that, a lot of times, sometimes, depending on your skill level, if I don't have an opportunity to play at the varsity level, how effective or how much do I want to stay out, right? If I don't have competitive opportunity, it's my standpoint.
Any other discussion?
I would only say the only stipulation I have, I'm for the co-op, but we need to make sure that they're holding up their end of the bargain, so we need to make sure that we're getting that payment, so.
Do I hear a motion then?
I move to continue with the baseball softball cooperative with Central Plains
I'll
for the
second.
2024 to 26 school year.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Yes or no, I don't know how you want me to answer that.
Okay, no. So, motion carries 4-2. Thank you very much. Thank you, Karen.
Yep.
Item 7B, approval of donations.
Ms. Cowan, do you want to address that, and then you can address the wall too?
So Shelby and I have been working this year to get our parent organization up and running again, HEPA. They're very valuable to our school and help support our projects. Shelby had the last project sponsor, so they decided to help me with our rock wall project at Lincoln. So they pledged some money towards it. So I'm asking for approval of acceptance of that. And I want to tell you a little bit about our project. So when the original plan for Lincoln was designed, it was supposed to have a rock wall in it, and that didn't happen. Nobody really knows the reason why, but I told Mr. Schramer I'd do my best to see if I could make it happen. So here we are. It was a little bit more expensive than I thought. So the rock wall would look like this. It's 8 feet high and 40 feet across. It's more of a sideways climber than a height climber, and it has a 3-inch mat that folds on top of it and it locks. What we would get for our proposition is a traverse wall, safety and maintenance instructions, climbing wall rule and guideline signs, and an activity guide from Mr. Schramer. I went ahead and got the highest fire rated material. We didn't need to, but I wanted to make it as safe as possible for our students, and it wasn't too terribly much more, and professional installation. So on that wall, there are some plugins and some fire safety things, and they would cut around those and make sure that they're all good to go. I've been working with a local architect to get fire safety approval, and she approved the fire safety, and we are just waiting to hear back to make sure that the material is okay to mount something that large too. So that's our last step in your approval. So the total cost for the wall is $22,788. That includes shipping, installation, everything. So
Good. I also checked with our insurance to make sure that we were okay liability wise with the mat that comes up and covers it. You know, to indicate that people are not supposed to be on there unless it's being supervised. That was a positive. They also recommended, you know, obvious supervision whenever somebody is on that. And they said our umbrella policy covers that, no additional charge or issues. So yeah, I think we're good to go. So.
are there any questions about the project or?
And do you have the funds for the total project?
So with HEPA's donation, I'll have to use part of my building budget and I'll have the rest out of my activity fund, but we have enough to cover it.
Okay.
I'm using about 10,000 of my building budget, but since ESSER funds helped me with some technology this year and things, I had a little bit that I could use for this. So made it a little bit sooner than I thought we could. So yep, it's a big thank you to the community too for our support with flower sales. That's been so successful, it really helped us out, so.
Any questions on, well, let's take care of the donation first. Any questions on the donation? I move to accept the donation from HEPA in the amount of $3,000 for the Lincoln Rock Wall as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Not all in favor? Opposed?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much. I'll let you know when it's installed, you can come check it out.
Okay, then we gotta finish up and approve the purchase, so.
So excited!
You got so excited.
We took your money, but we haven't. I move to approve the purchase of the Lincoln Rock Wall in the amount of $22,788 as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Not all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you
can be
now.
excited.
Thank you now. Thanks, guys.
Item D, 2023-24 Board of Education calendar.
As I've had the opportunity to talk to other superintendents, their calendar is more than just the dates for all the meetings. It kind of goes through month by month. Some of the items that will actually be discussed in the agenda on a regular basis, and those pretty well stay standard throughout every year as time goes on, obviously with some minor tweaks depending on how things go. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys a sneak peek, I guess, into how that might look. I got another one from another superintendent that had a little bit more of a listing of agenda items. I'll probably go through that as well as a couple more for the July meeting and kind of look at those and pull out the ones that are not, I guess, that are a little more unique for each month, and pull those out. And then I need some guidance a little bit from you as the board. We can roll those suggestions. Some boards actually take the 5th Monday of every month. There happens to be 3 of them next year, and there's 4 of them. There's 1 per quarter, and actually focus in on the goals and the strategic plan of the district. That's all that's discussed during those meetings. They don't tend to be very long. If you're interested in the fifth Monday, we could look at that. Otherwise, we could roll that into that month's agenda or the next month's agenda, to have that specific time to look at goals, to look at the strategic planning, to look at the actions that were taking place to accomplish those goals. So what's the feeling of the board on that 5th Monday? Now Dean's like, oh yeah, you guys can do that because he's gonna be gone. So,
I like the idea of the 5th Monday, just because sometimes those need more discussion and thought.
Mhm.
And, sometimes we get on a tangent and makes these regular board meetings so much longer.
right.
I agree with the 5th Monday. I think would make us focus more on the things that we've been talking about. We need to focus on more.
Okay.
So
Okay. Okay. That
I
sounds.
think, I agree with what Tracy said, that lets you focus on that instead of all these other items. And over the years, we've probably been short of focusing on goals and where we're going, so
Okay.
I think it's a great idea. But I guess the main thing, we really don't need any action today,
No.
other than July the 10th
Right.
would be our next board meeting.
July, and is that the consensus of the board as well? I mean, July 3rd is the first Monday. Dean and I kind of had a discussion on that some may decide to take a 4-day weekend, including, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So we'll go
I'll
ahead
be out of
and
town,
make
I
that
know.
move, we'll make that the initial meeting. I will also probably go ahead and pull the calendar out of that big long list of stuff that we approve, so that we can, I'll have some more items on here, and then we can have some more discussion on that individually, as needed. So,
Is everybody okay with the 10th?
yeah,
Yep.
yes.
That way, people can take off if not on vacations and not
Yeah.
worry about missing the meetings, so. Do we need that in the motion?
I think that was on that
Or is
last
it already
calendar.
on the last calendar?
I think that was on that last calendar, I don't remember.
I have
Probably
no
wouldn't.
notes. I don't know if you have a
Yeah.
motion for it.
I move that we have our July meeting on July the 10th.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Opposed?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Election update.
So it looks like we had a few jump in the race right at the end. So we have Jessica Bays, Julia Debus, Rebecca Mooney, and Kevin Patterson have filed for a 4-year term, the 4-year terms that we have open. And then Neil Oakes has filed for the 1 unexpired 2-year term that we had open as well. So we appreciate those people, filing for that, and we look forward to seeing how the elections go, so.
And my understanding, there will not be an August primary because we don't have enough candidates for that.
That
so
would be
the
correct.
November general election would be the election.
Yep. So, and then those people will take the oath of office at the January board meeting.
Any questions on that? If not, we'll move into reports. Roosevelt, Mrs. Walker.
You guys don't want to stay?
You ran them off, Sheldon.
I mean, this is the most exciting right here.
This is gonna be pretty good. You might want to stay. Yeah, well, good evening. That's so quiet now. It's okay, I'll take it. So I don't have very much for tonight's report, but all of our end of the year stuff went really well. Our field trips went really well. Roosevelt relays. We had a beautiful day. Everything went pretty smoothly. We had a few hiccups that were my fault, but we made it through. Again, thank you to Farron and Joel. They pass on the high school students the help, and they always do a phenomenal job. They are seriously role model citizens when they're out there around our little kiddos, and I really, really appreciate that. We finished our Roosevelt, goodness, good thing they're not in here. We finished our Module 5 of our resilience training, so that is our trauma training that we've been doing all year. We finished Module 5 on our workday right at the end of May, or at the end of our school year here. It went really, really well, so we'll dive right into Module 6 in the fall, hopefully in September or October. That really has been a wonderful experience for the staff and I think not only has it been wonderful training, but it's been a great collaboration time and kind of a bonding time for all of us as a staff. I talked about how we have our end of the year SIT meetings. So we have the current teachers of our SIT students, which is our student improvement team. We have the current teachers meet with the student's future teacher. They're really short conversations, just some casual conversation about academics and behaviors, and that way they kind of, if the current teacher had anything in place, they talk about those things with the future teacher. Just a kind of heads up and stuff. We'll meet with Lincoln in August on any of those incoming second graders that are on SIT. So, our building leadership team, we also met about on that last work day or teacher day about our parent engagement events. We've kind of bounced back and forth. You know, we've had a reading night, we've had a math night. We've had a wellness night. We have consistently had our grandparents' day, which has always been successful. Our reading night, our math night, and our wellness night were okay. We didn't have the percentage of attendance that we had hoped for, but we also very much understand parents are very, very busy. And especially if you have a kiddo that is in more than just Roosevelt, then you're going to several different activities during the week, and that's really tough. So we discussed trying to meet our parents halfway and hopefully get some family engagement nights when they are already out and about. So we have talked about some different things. One thing we discussed was on Halloween, do a trunk or treat at Roosevelt. Parents are already out. It'd be a great way to get them just to Roosevelt. So we talked about just some different things where we can hopefully help our parents with the engagement. And like I said, meet them halfway and do things that where they're already out and about in the community. And they don't have to have one more night on their calendar where they have to be out and about. We also talked about with the BLT team that we are going to implement some school-wide rules in our lunchroom, some recess rules, and some hallway rules. Our kiddos do really well, but we found out with our trauma training that we feel like we need to move together in more of a unified way when it comes to those things. So we have discussed those, and we actually finalized some rules. So we'll be bringing those, rolling the red carpet out for those in August. Chris and I talked about bringing Body Venture back. So Body Venture is like a big blow-up body. It's so cool. You can like
And it's been updated.
Yes.
Yes.
You can walk through these blow up organs. It's amazing. So I remember my first year here, Lincoln had it. So we had an email. I think I got an email from Trish, and then I got an email from Mr. Crowdis. So I was like, I'm on this. And so I reached out to them, filled out the scheduling application. They are in Barton County, October 16th, 17th, and 18th. So they'll let me know in August which one of those days they can come to Hoisington. We were just talking that we thought probably it'd be beneficial to book the activity center for that event. I know that they had it at Lincoln in the gym. Like I said, that first year I was here, Roosevelt's gym is not quite big enough. It was almost there, almost. But not quite. So we wouldn't have been able to walk around anywhere else. So I'm excited to hear from them, and hopefully we can get that back. We even talked about maybe even the possibility of inviting some surrounding schools to take advantage of that opportunity. So any questions?
I'll volunteer to help set up if I get to.
Yes, awesome, because we are going to need volunteers. We are going to need so many volunteers. Yeah, so it would be wonderful if we could if we knew what the weather would be, because we could just set it up outside, but you just it could be snowing.
Right.
It could be snowing in October, or blowing like a hurricane. Who knows? So
I
yeah.
guess the only question on the October would be if there would be any sports that would conflict or anything. Double check.
Yeah, but I won't know the date until August, so I can't do any of that until August. Yeah, so we've always got plans.
We'll make it work.
We'll make it work. So, all right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Cowan?
We recently had our summer startup event and art show at Lincoln. I guess we get lucky with the dates because it rained again, so a bunch of people came. So we had over 400 in attendance at that event. It was great to see all the people out, to supporting all their students. We also added the book fair this year. It was a great addition and raised a lot of extra funds for our library. Thanks to Diane and Teddy for their work on that. I know it took a lot of work to get that going, but it was very beneficial for our library. So we also had our honor roll assembly. It went really well. We got to celebrate with our students. The band also played on the playground for teacher appreciation, and HEPA catered the lunch for the teachers that day. Mr. Quaid, thank you to live streaming that. It's on our Facebook page if anybody wants to check it out. We also had one 5th grader, which I've never seen this happen before, Briley Wilder, and she got to play at graduation. So she mastered pomp and circumstance and got to play. So that was pretty neat. Took her up the first day for practice and she was pretty nervous, but she nailed it. So pretty proud of her. We also had our flower pickup. We moved it to the gym this year and it seemed to work really well. We reached our fundraising goal. Thank you to the community for their support for that fundraiser. We also attended the USA conference as an admin team. It was a great opportunity to collaborate with other admin in the state. Thank you for sending us and supporting that. We really look forward to that every year. We also had our end of the year sit meetings to make class lists. The year before makes a class list for the next grade level to kind of help them since they already know the students. We also finished Module 7, had a lot of planning in it for next year. So we'll continue with that for our resilience training next year. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rogar?
Good evening. We got the end of the year wrapped up with our award ceremony for 6th and 7th grade in our gym. Went pretty smooth. Locker clean out went well. You know, they ended the year on with our annual dodgeball tournament. It's become a staple for us. Kids enjoy that. You know, give a shout out to Mr. Haxton and Ms. Wilborn for putting that together. They put in a lot of time making sure everybody has teams and last minute additions and things like that. It's not always it's not always as easy as you would think it would be to make dodgeball teams. With that said, I'd also like to give a shout out to the rest of my teachers and staff for the work and the patience and everything they did this year to get us through and give our kids their best opportunity for success. They did a good job for us, from start to finish. Getting ready to get our summer school started the week before our school starts, so we're finalizing things for that. I feel I got through my first promotion relatively easy. I don't know. You guys were there. You tell me. It felt like it went all right to me. We got everybody across the stage. Nobody was without a promotion certificate, so that was a good thing. As Chris has said, we went to the USA conference. Just they got vendors there for different school supplies and things like that. It's fun to walk around and get to know them and see what they're offering. 10 breakout sessions throughout the day on a Thursday. Some of the ones I went to dealt with having difficult conversations with staff and students, because those come up. Just different sessions on how to become improve building leadership. One breakout session that's the teachers from Scott City Middle School put on was about MTSS. We were looking at redoing, kind of revising, maybe going back to a way we did it before with breakout sessions and more fluid so students can move up and down, so they got a little bit more incentive to do well. And they started that a couple years ago, so that got some good ideas from them in that session. And again, as Chris has said, it's a great way that we can network with other principals and admin throughout the state, share, successes, share challenges with each other, in an effort to become better building leaders. And then, as well as collaboration with us, with our admin team, just where we're at, where we want to be, what we need to do to get better. So, the last week and a half here or so, I look forward to, getting started and working over summer to implement some of the things that I took away from that conference, to grow, to learn and grow and get better as a building. So, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Flowers, middle school activities.
Good evening. So the end of the season for track went very well. They went to Hillsborough for the final track meet. Our 8th grade girls ended very successfully, taking home the league title. Our 7th grade girls ended 3rd, and both boys groups ended right in the middle of the pack. Just numbers weren't in their favor, but otherwise they achieved very well and had PRs for most kids at the end of the season. Tennis succeeded extremely well, taking 3rd in our league by, I want to say it was 3 points from first and 2 from second. 2 and 4, sorry. So very close race at the end. Great opportunities for all those athletes. Now it's turning to summer and making sure we have great staffs to continue to help mold and foster our athletes. Like the others, I appreciate you guys sending us to USA Conference. It was a great experience and a lot of really good breakout sessions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. High school, Mr. Mason.
Good evening. Graduation was a success this year with the class of 2023. We did graduate 98%, 50 of our 51 that finished with us here. We did have 3 students transfer to the Great Bend Academy as sophomores, and they all 3 did graduate as well. And one of those graduated a year early. So technically we had 53 of 54 graduate. They're still on our enrollment, so they still count as our students. So that's a positive. Driver's Ed, the summer's gone well so far. Mr. Haxton in his first full year of doing Driver's Ed both sessions. Session 1 right now we have 25 students enrolled. Session 2 we'll have 22. We have 7 students enrolled in taking our credit recovery classes this summer. As you remember, this summer school for the high school starts right when school's out. We do credit recovery. So we have 7 students in that right now. That goes through Thursday, June 15th. We do have 1 student that already finished her class, so that's been a benefit. I hope we can continue doing that to keep these kids on pace to graduate on time. Like Mr. Brungart talked about, the Conference USA, several breakout sessions that we can choose from. A couple of them that I felt like was really good. One was providing opportunities for students with post-secondary success. A lot of that did focus on pathways, which Mr. Crowdis and I did talk briefly at that conference, that we do have several pathways, but we probably don't do a great job of making sure that they actually lead into certification. Some personnel from Cheney High School talked about this, and they talked about, I think they offer about 12 or so different certifications, coming out of high school. We offer a couple, but that's definitely something I want to work on. Definitely something I want to get a better partnership with Barton Community College, to send kids over there for an afternoon to pick up welding or automotive or whatever. So that's one takeaway I got from that conference that was really good. The second one was creating collaborative relationships between school leadership and school community. And I thought that tied in really well with this spring with our meetings we had with, moving forward with our district goals. And then the meeting we had last week with administration and KSB and Dean, I thought was really productive. So I feel like we're off to a good start with, collaborating with the public, collaborating with our stakeholders to improve what we do as a district. So, and then I guess to top it all off, I don't know if you guys know who Jerry Brooks is. You need to YouTube him sometime. He's a elementary principal in Kentucky, I believe.
Yep.
He was the keynote speaker there. So when you leave here, YouTube Jerry Brooks, Jerry with a G. He's pretty funny. He has a lot of videos out there that kind of makes light of everyday situations that school personnel go through, which all of them are dead on with what we deal with, but he makes light of it. And, he's really comical, but he also had a very motivating message along with that. So thought it was a really good conference. So still out looking for a business teacher. So have a school in our league had a leftover applicant, so I'm going to call that person tomorrow, see if they're interested. But if you know of anybody out there in the business world with a bachelor's in business that's wanting a career change, please let them know that they can do the transition to teach program through Fort Hays. So,
Any questions?
any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Kraft.
All right. As we all know, spring sports finally came to a close. Track team had another successful season. I believe we took 20 kids to state, which includes all of our alternates for our relays. Medalists, we had Chalamet Farmer was first place in pole vault. Had a great day. Mallory Mooney, 8th place in triple jump. The boys 4x8, Carter Wolf, Camden Tarleton, Derek Yacht, Elijah Lewis got 8th place. And then Josiah Ball had one heck of a state tournament. He first in pole vault, third in the 110 hurdles, and fourth in 300 hurdles. And he was ever close to bringing home 3 golds. So, we had a great season, and the kids performed well. Softball ended their season, regional runner-up Southeast Saline. I believe we lost 1-0. Holy cow, Southeast was pretty tough. Could have went either way. Girls played well. They finished the season 17-5. With majority of the team coming back, so I know Coach is extremely excited for next year. Baseball, we ended the season as regional champs on our home field, which was really exciting. It was a new experience for me to host a regional baseball, because that's one KSU postseason I've never hosted, and oh my word, the amount of work that goes into that, and want to thank everybody that helped us get through that. But the boys had a heck of a tournament. Coach Steiner and I, we talked about it. We may have had the toughest regional in the state as far as pitchers go. Out of the 8, I believe, 3A All-State pitchers, we saw 5 of them this year. So, our boys played well. Went to state. they played well. The ball just didn't go our way, and we ended up losing. But finished off a great season at 15-8. So, I know they're looking forward to the future with lots of pieces coming back as well. Boys tennis and golf both finished their seasons at the regional competitions. We got small numbers in both of those sports, but we're also fairly young, and they got a lot better throughout the year. I know tennis is looking forward to some increase in numbers next year with our big freshman class coming up. Quite a few boys that will play tennis, and we think there's several boys that will golf as well. So hopefully we can get those numbers back up where they were. But those boys that participated, they gave it their all and competed well all year. So, I want to thank all the workers that help us put on our events for the year. I don't know if people realize the amount of workers throughout a year it takes to put on athletic events. It's a lot. It is a lot, and we've got probably 7-8 people that are regulars that help us all the time, and we could not do it without them. So I want to thank them for all their help this year. On top of that, as far as high school athletics go, I'll have all the schedules for next year will be on the school calendar by the end of next week. So I should have them tagged so you can go on there and pick it by sport. It takes a little while to get all that done, but that's the goal by the end of next week to have all that done. So everybody can start looking at it, making plans accordingly. So USA conference, like everybody else said, it was a great conference. I think what I get out of it the most is the networking side of it, visiting with other administrators and listening to things that work and don't work for them, and how can we bring those things back and help make our buildings better. So it was a good couple days down there, and it was nice to reconnect with people and connect with people you don't know. So appreciate you guys allowing us to go to that. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Crotus.
On the board packet, I did go ahead and include the long-range planning packet, and we do have some hard copies here available for you as well to take and look if you're not one to look on the actual website. So, you getting cold now? Oh. So.
You're not chattering yet.
Yeah. Last week on Tuesday, we met with Gary Sechrist and Dr. Britton Hart, and Dean was able to come as well, and we were able to actually condense a lot of what is in that long range planning document down into 3 or 4 goals, condense our mission and vision, and as soon as that becomes available, I'll send that out to you as well. They were going to wordsmith some stuff, but they were also headed to the USA conference as well, and so we'll get that out to the board as soon as that comes out. Even before the next board meeting, I'll get that for you. Some of the other things, we've got a lot of different projects going on in the district. The bathroom stalls on 3rd floor high school, as well as at the middle school, are being replaced this summer. We did that in 2 phases to go ahead and get those updated and refurbished. Those are almost complete and will be completed by the end of this week. Anita Reif has graciously said she would do some painting for us again, and so she is, I believe, done at Roosevelt. The painting that needs to be done there, she's going to start in at the high school doing some painting and then make her way over to Lincoln. And we did go ahead and get a little bit better quality paint for Lincoln. It's the flat construction paint, and so we got a little bit better paint so that it can be wiped off. It was getting pretty dingy on those new walls at Lincoln. The cleaning crew is wrapped up at Roosevelt and have moved on to the high school. Our flooring crew finished up waxing, stripping and waxing 3rd floor and 2nd floor at the high school, and are moving on to their next location. So lots of things happen, as well as the turf and track that we've already talked about. Received our audited numbers from the state, and we tended to be a little bit shy of what I had actually presented. So overall, we were about 8 students shy when it came to the actual FTE or the actual funding formula that they have. So so when I build the budget this next year, I'll take into careful consideration, those numbers as well, whenever we're looking at those audited numbers. That did affect our funding, but each year we pad the budget just a little bit to know that there's the potential that there could be some auditing that takes place and brings that funding down. So, but then we also are going to get a little more special education funding, which should balance out just pretty close to where our original budget was as well. The administrators have talked about the resilience training, and I just want to point out at the USA conference, I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with our kind of our lead trainer that's been involved with Hoisington through the resilience training, not only before I was here, but also now. And she had amazing things to say about the buy-in and how well our administration as well as our staff has bought into the resilience training and the trauma-informed. So that came from Rebecca Pankratz, and so she was very open and honest about giving that compliment to our district. Coming in July, I will present to you, or I will give you district assessment and FastBridge scores, and then at the August board meeting, then we'll have the administrators actually kind of dig into those a little bit for you. That way you have a chance to kind of take a look at those and it not just be spewed out at you all at once. So those numbers are actually coming. Update on our ESP and building control systems. We're still waiting on a contract, so we're not moving forward with that process until we actually have a contract. When I get the final contract, I'll also send that to Don Rye for his final approval before I ever sign anything off on that. I am having ESP in their finalization of the energy audit that they have been working on with us. We're going to be working on taking a look at a couple of the items within our electric bill to make sure in our electric bill we have what they call a multiplier. So we have usage, and then that is multiplied by a certain amount. And I'm still investigating and determining how that amount is figured, but I'm working with ESP to make sure that we're actually being multiplied by the figure that is correct. So I'll continue to look at that, in terms of how how that affects our electric rates. I will probably go ahead and forward on to you this week the June policy updates by KASB. I am actually going to be in a meeting tomorrow morning with the other CKL superintendents to review those. Because of the amount of policy that has been in the last 2 budget bills, the amount of policy that is being added, I printed them off today and it's 60 pages long. Some of those, and I'll bring clear recommendations as to which ones we want to go for and which ones we don't want to, as well as if there's items that we want to tweak, but I'll also communicate with KSB in terms of what we're thinking in those as well. So that's probably going to be, obviously a couple month process, but I also want you guys to be aware that there's some pretty heavy policy pieces in there. The handbooks for all of our adults, we approved all of the student handbooks. The adult handbooks I'll have for the July board meeting, and then we can make those approvals in August. I waited on those simply because we also have some items that affect those handbooks that were changed in the negotiated agreement. I know some of that is separate, but some of it affects all of those as well. Again, like I said, June 19th, we also have a CKL in-person superintendent meeting, getting together, and I'm sure the board policies as well as other things will be brought up during that time. June 27th, Taylor and I will be attending the budget workshop in Salina. Again, like last year, I'm sure the majority of it will be policy, and then about 2 hours will be budget instead of the other way around. This week, district admin and I, they're wrapping up their duties over the next week or week and a half. I will be meeting with each of them this week to talk about goals and items for challenges and things to improve on and things that they did well this past year. So we'll be meeting as we move into the rest of this week. One final thing, we've talked about it, at different times. The weight room building, I did actually get an actual number from ATG. They put together, they're putting together a small proposal for a building the size that we're looking at. They're looking at about $300,000, which would also help. They would be able to move the building that is existing because they also have their concrete crew that would be here working. Obviously, we've not signed anything to do any of this. I don't want anybody to think that this all of a sudden that building's going to move without your approval. That's not going to happen. But 300,000 is kind of the number that we've been playing with. So I don't know where the board is in terms of, would you be in favor of me seeing if I can find alternative funding sources to fund that?
Comments?
What kind of funding sources are out there?
I mean, people in the community, we might be able to apply for some grants. There might be some grants through the Historical Society.
I don't think there's any reason not to,
Right,
look at the options and see what you can find.
Okay.
right.
Well, I just wanted you to be, I wanted your approval before I start talking to people. Some people within the community, some people outside the community. We didn't sell enough turf to fund it, but we talked about that. Again, just a clarification. That solves a lot of our. That solves a couple issues. It solves us transporting kids back and forth to the activity center and taking time out of the PE class. It also would allow us and free up a bus driver if we did need to go in and transport students to Barton County for some of those certifications. We have pathways, and we receive funds from the state for those pathways. Don't get me wrong on that, but when the state is talking about industry certifications, they're not talking about pathways. They're talking about a piece of a pathway. And transporting students to Barton County, they can actually get industry recognized certifications. And we can get funding for that transportation as well. The other piece is our facilities issue when it comes to female wrestling. This would put 2 wrestling rooms right next to one another as well. So I don't want us to lose sight in, yes, it's a major project, and I know Dean has reminded me of that multiple times, and I appreciate that because sometimes I do get ahead of myself, but those are things that it would solve as well. So that's all I've got. Questions? There's a lot. I'm sorry.
Next item, board member reports. Anybody have anything? I would like to thank all the administration for sitting in on the long-range planning meeting Tuesday. It was an interesting process, and I think made some gains. What really was nice was Mr. Sechrist and then Dr. Britton. They would pull out from us, we broke into groups, and we identified key words or phrases like in the mission statement and the vision statement where we were at. And then they did the tweaking and the wordsmithing, so we didn't have to sit and argue over whether it was stable or consistent, or what other words didn't we like, Shelby, that you did?
Lots.
A lot. But anyway, they, I think will come up with a good product for us. We got the key concepts in, but then they could put it in the right wording and phrases, because that's what they do, so.
And that, what they'll do is they'll actually put it into a format similar to this. And then we'll take this, I mean, after we kind of approve it, obviously as a board, when we get a final product, we'll publish this everywhere we can. We'll put it in programs, we'll put it, you know, obviously on the website, on Facebook, you know, all of the normal places, but we'll get this out as much as possible. And this is just one idea of the format, but they'll bring this to us, and be able to say, okay, here's where we're at, and those types of things, so there's some more coming.
Yeah, the next step is they get wrapped up, the final process with them will be to come to the board and meet with the board for us to give final approval of what this final plan is. And Gary said it would take about an hour, he thought. And the question is, do we try to tie that into a regular meeting or have a special meeting, kind of like we're talking about the goal setting? So that's all we talk about that night, is finalizing this long-range planning. And I don't think he had any dates yet.
No, not yet.
Be sometime this summer or early fall, I would guess, so. Does that sound like do that a separate night, that way we can just focus on that?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll work on getting a time frame set. So, and I do, again, want to thank all the administrators, because there was some pretty hefty lifting for a couple hours that some of us had to stretch our thinking a little bit. Other people are creative and are a real asset, so. Legislative update?
Well, I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, but Senate Bill 113 was passed, which was the K-12 budget bill. I say that loosely because it was full of a lot of policy and different things that we'd kind of been watching as the legislative session had taken place. It did go ahead and make the base state aid based on the 3-year consumer price index average, which raised the base state aid to $5,088. Then it went ahead and funded high density at risk all the way to July 1 of 2027. Now, that was put in several years ago based on free lunches, and we do receive a significant amount of money for that high density at risk. So that was a positive. Also, the entire formula for education sunsets in 2027 as well. So our hope is that they will plan ahead to work on a formula, or work with KSDE to have a formula come 2027, not wait until the last minute. So cross your fingers on that. The other big thing that took place, which was a little bit interesting and different, was the original bill had that you would use the current year or look back 1 year for funding. So for next year, so for the fiscal year '24, next year's budget, we would have the opportunity to look at our September 20th date or count, or just this current year count. I mean, this past year. The governor vetoed that, moved it back to what has always been done. You have the opportunity to look 2 prior years back. Because of the significant difference that a lot of schools would have, and that actually benefited us to about 25,000 to be able to look 2 years back versus just our current year or 1 year back. And so, there was some talk that maybe the legislature might push that to the Attorney General. They have since come out and said that they would not, and so the bill has moved forward, and she did sign that. So
And the Attorney General came out today that he wasn't going to
he
pursue
did.
it.
Okay, that sounds good. So, you know, a couple items that were kind of token items. 7.5 million was added to special ed aid, which the governor's budget asked for 75 million instead of 7.5. They created a special ed task force. They added $1 million to a school safety grant. Last year we applied for that school safety grant, and so did about 200 other school districts. And what they did is they just distributed the money equally based on your at-risk numbers, basically your free and reduced numbers. And so we received like 13,000. So we bought some cameras with it, which was appropriate. But the legislature didn't add but $1 million to that pot of money. They also had some additional funding for some mental health initiatives that they added $1 million to, which is great for those schools that already have those in place. But for those of us that are wanting to get started, that $1 million is going to be spread out over about 150 different school districts. So it's difficult. So we'll continue to work with the center and other organizations to help in that. So there's a lot of different things, you know, in that bill. A lot of it policy, a lot of it related to vouchers, but I won't take the time to go over all of that. Any questions?
No questions, we'll move into item 9, personnel. Oh, you're not gonna like me. I move we go into executive session for 45 minutes pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception, or KOMA, for the purpose of discussing nominations and resignations with Mr. Kratos present, Mr. Kraft and Mr. Flowers as needed. The open meeting will resume at, let's say, 9 o'clock.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Other administrators could probably leave.
Yep. You guys want to?
Call the meeting back to order. Coming out of executive session with the following motions. Yeah.
Yep.
I move to accept the resignation of Ann Selfridge for the position of middle school robotics.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Move to accept the nomination of Hannah Kiesling for the position of Lincoln aide for the 2023-24 school year as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Move to accept the nomination of David Ballin for position of activities bus driver and substitute driver as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Now we'll get a little tricky, but I move to accept the nomination of supplemental contracts for the 2023-2024 school year as presented, and I will read the additions for this coming year. For high school football, assistant coach Eric Steiner. High school, well, we already approved that one. High school girls golf, Mac Holman. Middle school football, head coach Jason Ingram. Middle school volleyball, assistant coach Lexi Netlingham. And high school girls wrestling, head coach Cody Cook. Finishes that list. We will go to spring coaches. High school boys golf, Mac Holman. Middle school track, we'll do a little switch. Head boys coach will be Robert England and Patricia Evans as an assistant. Does that sound right? And Jacob
Yes.
Owen stays as, yes.
Okay.
And I think that completes it. Any discussion?
You might note that was Zach Baird.
I wanted to wait.
Replace-
I think that was a miss, because Zach was,
Because this is how it's being presented though. it
oh,
needs to
okay,
be changed.
yeah. And the head, the
Boys, summer weights.
summer weights, Zach Baird as the head of summer weights. That was presented differently.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mhm. Second, I guess you made a
Okay.
motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Not, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much for all of that.
Yeah.
I forgot about negotiation.
Sorry.
How much you need for that?
15.
I move we go into executive session for 15 minutes pursuant to discussion of the exception for employee-employee negotiations under KLMA to discuss negotiation training and negotiation letter information with Mr. Crowdis present. We will meet, open meeting resume at 9:20.
Second.
It's been made and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Come back into regular session with no recommended motions. The last item, number
I
11.
move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. We adjourn. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Hang in with us.